So, you are today I'm here today to give a lightweight talk. No very deep insight and some funsies. Let's begin by choosing the content of what you're here to share. So, yeah, it should be ready now. Is it? Ha! Amazing. Round of applause, please, for me. Give me some support. Thank you so much. All right. Awesome. So, have you been to Disneyland? No? Okay. My statistics is going down with every presentation I give. Where's my second slide? I didn't reload the page, but there was a slide. A second question for you. Have you ever visited a website? No, yes, of course you did. Don't lie to me, you little guys and girls. I asked these two questions not on random. Today I want to share you a framework I imagined that could help you load your websites faster. Maybe your users would not notice the loads at all. Why and how those two things are connected, let's try to figure out throughout this talk. So, before we do, maybe you were to a different amusement park, right? Maybe, anyone, right? And inside, and when going there, you might felt excited. You might saw this amazing castle in the distance. You might have seen those characters running around. And to me, as a child, as an adult, a child, it's still very exciting. And your websites should also be exciting for everyone, so make sure to optimize all of the all the basic numbers. Basically go for corporate vitals, right? If you want good first impression, it will give you best results. These ones I've just put here because I think those are the most straightforward to optimize, so go for them, no problem. But I think there's something more important, right? There is your user interface, user experience, how you engage with your customers, what they see. You should get them excited when they visit you. Yeah, they might have learned from you about your page somewhere, they visited. Now, you need to grab their attention and make their session on your website longer, right? So, this talk is not about all of that. This talk is about what happens next. I don't hear a lot of people talking about subsequent page navigations. Usually everybody is talking about performance of a first page load. And that's a very good topic to speak about. There is a lot of things to cover. I wrote my bachelor degree on that, but I think there is something we are missing. So, you go into the amusement park and you choose the ride. Like on a website, you go to the website and you choose a call to action to follow. What happens in this hyper-optimized people mover of amusement park, right? You see the sign. It says 45 minutes is your wait time, and then you commit to it. What happens on your website? Well, user clicks, and then what? Why so silent? I thought you would answer immediately. Well, the page loads, the next page loads, but how it happens is very different. It's based on a lot of things. It's based on the user network. Maybe he suddenly went underground and it's now slow. Maybe something else happened and he just has a slower phone. What matters and you know, like there is this smart guy sometimes say, you should not worry about things you can't control. And I do believe that's true. But we are in the control of a website, right? So we can do something about this specific transition to make it feel nice. And I call it perceived performance. I call it this way because it's not about, it's about how it feels, right? So let's look at this example. Hopefully my GIF compression is fine. But this load a transition from menu to a category happens on a slow 4G network. And you can see that it appears instant, and then it loads something else in, and there is a beautiful transition with opacity, which my favorite GIF compression from Giphy did not really do well. But believe it or not, or maybe you believe it, this takes 3.5 seconds to load, while it seems, to me, faster. Well, how do we get to this point? Let's talk, and this talk would be about this, about the experience of loading next pages. Look at these two lines, weird ones, right? One is straight, one is curvy. What's the difference? The second one is used in a Disneyland. The first one is not. Why? Well, if you look from here to the end, it appears closer, while in reality it's that long. So the user should feel some progression, like we showed him the time in Disneyland, and now we show him the boarding area, and he sees these people boarding cars, excited to get the ride. What can we do on the web? Well, the first thing we can do is to do nothing, right? The empty box, blank page, boom, and we see the next one. That's the default behavior. But what else can we do? Yeah, we can show loader, right? We can show loader. The loader is cool, but not cool enough, because just like the graphics for this slide, you never know when it loads. And it's very bad to keep someone hanging, right? Uncertainty is such a bad feeling. We all know it, and we want to escape it. As humans, we just don't like to live in the uncertainty. So it's good to hint onto some progress being made. And this one is very tiny at top, because we have so many things going on about loading, but the progress gives you a sense of control. It gives you a sense of commitment. You already waited for some time, just a tiny bit left. And there is a lot of things you can do here. This one is hyper-optimized on YouTube. On YouTube it goes like this, then it jumps to 90, and then it stays on the 90, moving a little bit forward. They have a very good talk about this, by the way. You can Google it. I think it's on a similar topic, like perceived performance. But in general, we did it this way. You can make your progress bar look different. But they allow you to feel the way. They allow you to feel the progress and not just wait for it to end. And then some of you smart guys and girls know and aware of front-end approaches can tell you there are skeletons you can use, they are amazing. But the reality, at least in my experience, shows that loaders are clunky and you never know what height of the content you will receive, so you will end up with a cumulative layout shifts, right? And those are awful for experience, and essentially everything that breaks the flow of experience distracts users from the main thing why they came to your website. They came for a purchase, they came to explore, they came to be converted by you, right? So don't get them distracted. And I think skeletons are distractive, but we will come back to them later in this talk, because I think there is a good use for them. Well, what happens when you join this line? Yeah, you saw the end, you saw the time, but now you are immersed in this experience of a queue. How can queue be fun? Look at this one, jungle themed. Everything, everywhere you look, seems interesting and exciting. You can spend minutes, maybe more, just discussing with your friends and family how this and that is arranged. That's very interesting, and it keeps the immersion flowing. If you look at the Star Wars theme ride, you'll be greeted by some R2-D2 talking to you in a robot voice. But this is something we can do, because currently websites and their experience look like this. You go to your first page, then you pretty much stall, and then you get excited again. We are not controlling the customer engagement good enough, and we should be doing this because it's important for conversion rates. And I think there is a way, and it's quite straightforward and simple. We need to transition things. See, this transition takes 1.5 seconds. It makes your backend a little bit more free to load things for longer, but it hides a lot of stuff. And you get bonus points if you can transition elements in a way to pretty much, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. The transition can carry on your show. They can stitch together your experience. And you should not forget about them, because when your customers are arguing about web pages loading slow and things like this, they could be just impatient. You can save hundreds of hours by optimizing and adding a good-looking transition instead of going all in and optimizing your backend, scaling servers and doing stuff. This works, believe me. I did it on projects, on large-scale projects, but I can't disclose the names. And here's a sneak peek, right? While you wait. You come through some corridors, and suddenly there is a scream coming from your left or right. Something happens, right? And you see a trolley passing you by on some supersonic speeds or some magical sounds. You kind of get a sneak peek of what this ride will be all about. And I know for certain that we can make use of this on the web. Look, every interaction on your website is under your control. You place those call to actions on the website. You know where it would lead the user. Why not just take the extra step and make use of the data you use to render that link and pass some additional information to it. Like here, look, there is a menu link, right? Oh, sorry, there is a product link. But the same goes for the menu. We can go back. If you press on something from a menu, we immediately know that here's the category name, here's the category description, here's the link to an image. We can embed it into the original page, and we can then instantly use it to render the next one. It's a simple trick. Simple one, really. But it gives you so much control over how your website performs. It's crazy. You can have instant previews, like, should I go back and show the category? But maybe not, whatever, you got the point. Bonus points, if you can fill the screen. See, if you can manage to fill the viewport of the customer with your previously known data, you can take much longer to make user, to respond. If you can reuse a lot of information, and it takes time to comprehend what happened, what was shown, right? And you can use that time to load. And here's where the skeletons come back in. I was intending to put the slide with the category page here, but you can now, if you took as much of a viewport of a customer with known information from previous page, it's now time to show those skeletons, because it will bring more immersion to your experience. You can show first just the data, then pop in the skeletons if you notice that connection is slow enough. Just don't be smart about it. You can use Navigator and stuff, but you can just do the delay on the animation before it appears. And just show those skeletons. And this would look so cohesive when they get when they get faded in and when they get replaced, because it would now look very cohesive. So you click, something happens, something shows up, right? Then you get your information loaded, reusing data from previous page. Then you add on top the fading in skeletons, and then you replace that information with the real data. This looks so seamless, and that's what we were going for. I was long thinking that the web needs to change. Let's start the revolution. You know, it's not enough sometimes to just rely on your waiting experience. Sometimes you make users wait without actually transitioning the page. Sometimes you do it when they actually are browsing. Like, you have to make sure that your ride is thrilling all over it. You have to make sure that addition to cart is quick. You have to make sure that every other possible interaction that could happen is instant. And again, you have to be in control. Don't rely on this network connection. How you can do it, you ask me? And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is use optimistic UI, right? So it of course takes time of your developers, but it also wins you a lot of time when client is never arguing about any performance problems because everything just happens instantly. And that's so valuable. At least I, as a customer of websites, expect it to be everywhere. And I love how exciting it is to add to cart now. Look, I add to cart, stuff moves. I delete from cart, stuff moves. How fun. Yes, that's what we want, right? Right? Yes! Yes! So, no time to load, guys. There is no time to load. Let's rehearse. So, first impressions matter because LCP, FCP will affect your scores in any crawler you choose. Perceived performance actually gives you more for less than actually optimizing the speed. Entertaining the users while they wait can help you boost your conversions. Maintain flow with transitions can boost your sessions durations because the customers won't be eager to drop out. They've already seen something, they're already in progress of almost received. Very good. Use what you know up front, and this would allow you to present your customer and get him entertained with not just a loader, not just a spinner, but with real data to read before everything else loads. Let users feel in control by showing them where they are now, where they're headed. Don't pop up banners. Oh, this is another topic, but don't pop up banners if you can. I know it's good for conversion, but it really breaks the immersion and really distracts from your brand experience. If you're doing luxury, that's very questionable. Optimistic UI keeps users moving, so they can add to cart faster, they can take more spontaneous decisions, and this is always good if you are selling something that could use some impulsive buying. Design every moment is a paradigm that I personally feel like is very important. You should not just think about your web page UI and looks. You should think about how your website would feel. So remember, next time you get a design from your designer to ask him, how should it feel? And then look stupid. Because it's hard to explain. And actually, for me, working in a company, right, in a large company, it's very hard to figure out how we can make designers design this. So it's always some, here is an example, here is another one, and Figma transitions and APIs that allow you to do it are very limited. So this question appears to be quite unexplored. Maybe some of you will start a startup, then I'll buy it. Buy the license to use for my company. I have a lot of people. We'll be very happy. Now, back to reality. I'll give you some notes for you if you ever decide to implement it. You, your friend who's vibe coding, you and your GPT agent, not sure. I need to stay relevant, so hello AI, I love you. Optimistic page navigation could be achieved in Next.js. I will talk React frameworks and then I'll talk normal ones. Apologies. So, out of the box, right, you get these loaders.js and it's loading.js, and this, or TS, depends on whether you're cool or not. But essentially, you can use it to show your optimistic UI, where you can reuse the data from the previous page. But there is one trick and problem. If you're doing images in Next.js with this approach, it will be very hard. I don't recommend it. Essentially, the problem is that you will unavoidably force a re-rendering because your suspense is rendering on a different level than your page is, meaning that you can't replace elements by just changing the props, just causing re-render of things that need to be re-rendered. You'll be forced to drop the previous DOM and re-render it on top, and this will be not cool. But you can learn it more from me if you're interested. But essentially, I had to switch out from Next.js while building the first demo for this project because of this limitation. Essentially, I like the architecture of this remix more. But this is an arguable discussion. And here it's easy because you can use client loaders and loaders, and you can use client loaders to pass first the information that you already had from the previous page, and you can use loader to load the actual information. And then you can combine those two results together while rendering it in the same component, meaning no re-renders. That's very good and really healthy for your CPUs because they have to do less work of rendering props from, And then the rest of the frameworks. Look, here is the comprehensive guide of how to do it. First, you need to add context to your links. Second, you need to render the first page on server. Why? Because you need a good first impression. Then on click, again, I fixed all of those typos. Truly fixed. I walked around here and fixed those titles, but I didn't reload the page. So we're offline. But on click, we memoize link data. And then we render part of the page from memoized data. And then we render rest of the page from the data coming from a server. And that's essentially the trick. But there is a problem. And a problem is that you need to go client-side for all subsequent navigations. And not many of you will be able to afford it, especially if you have huge, chunky GTM setups, some other applications that rely on the fact that DOM content is loaded and window is loaded. If that's the case, they're also likely using some window variables that get set as a flags, and then you need to reset them, keep track of them. I tried it. It's a mess. I don't recommend it. For you, my dear friends, there is a solution, but you will have to not commit to do optimistic navigation of pages. You will have to live with just transitions. That's your life, just deal with it. Sorry. All right, transitions. So this one is fun section. Real Transition API is very cool, and it's a compromise if you want to do something on the server side only. And it's not really flexible. It's very interesting to use, and we have very good looking websites made on it. And one of the good advantages is that with server-side rendering, you don't need to bother about scrolling pages back onto the right positions. Don't ask me why it's a trauma. But essentially, view transition is good. Like it. If you want to do lightweight, just go for it, and you'll be able to achieve a lot. Use CSS transforms and other properties that don't cause the reflow or another way affect your performance. Adds transforms, opacities, and other stuff, other causes. And avoid animating heavy properties. And then avoid linear transitions. If you want to really engage the customer, it's best to show something quick and then slow and then quick. You can read a lot of research about this, but generally avoid linear transitions if you want your website to look fancy. You can just find some cubic Bezier equation and use it. It will be good enough. Nobody will notice. And with that, I would like to thank you all for being that patient and listening for me for all that time. And the technology and the websites used are available now on Shopify. You can buy it as a theme. You can also, it's actually the first theme on Shopify Marketplace that runs as a single-page application as well as a server-side rendered application. So it supports two modes. And this one is Satoshi for Hyvä. That's Adobe Commerce blah 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 theme. You can just look at the open source code there that can give you a hint on how we implemented this. So it's just a cool cool place to search. Otherwise, you would need to buy a Shopify theme for $100. Previously, it was $500, but we decided that if we give one for an open source, the second should be almost free. But Shopify said to us, no free themes. So essentially, I'm gifting it all to you. And thank you again for hosting me. Thank you.
You have questions? Shout out. Just shout.
You showed this list on one of the slides where was a few items that's loaded after you open the page and waiting until it's done. And after that, we show that it's implemented by fallback component that you pass in the fallback function of the component. Some components that show that it's loading. My question is, in which life cycle linked Ajax request to the server, to the backend? When it works, when we get a list of elements, because if you talk about fallback, each fallback is unique for all item. Every item has own fallback, as I understand.
No, not every item, of course. In reality, the demo you saw, the demo with this list, right? This one. We are talking this one, I guess. No, not this one, sorry. I have many slides. I should do smaller presentations. Here, this one. Yeah, you didn't like it because the images, the texts appear right away, but what's the question eventually? Look here, here is the fallback. Here is the fallback. Look, until this is the fallback page. This one.
It's the wall.
The fallback is this, and this. But we have a template. The template is one. We don't ship the template. We ship only data with the link. So this link in the menu, it says category name, this one, category description, this, and category image, this. And then you click on it, we pass it to the global state, for example, or we push it to the history, and then we read it from the template when rendering the fallback. So we immediately render the fallback. It's a single template for all PLPs, or product listing pages. So essentially, you only need to do it once, one template, and then only data.
I'm asking about items. That's,
these guys?
Yeah.
These guys are rendered when the data for the page came.
It's downloaded separately or seamlessly?
All images are loaded separately. The data itself is loaded once.
Once with one request to the server, yeah?
Yeah, no, it depends on your implementation.
Not per item.
Yeah, of course not. All together, yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Yes.
Yes. Can we show optimistic UI example with a delete item from basket?
Yes.
Yes. Let's
This one.
do it. In the delete item. Yeah. How it can possible handle fail scenario on backend in this case?
Yeah, it will show you the notification, that experience. So we kind of...
yeah, in milliseconds, sorry, in milliseconds, because
no, you'll get this.
customer,
The card should pop up, and then you should get the notification that the item was not possible to delete. But the problem is that notifications is a bad pattern. And in general, this race conditions with the backend is a very complicated topic, right?
Yeah.
And generally, figuring it out is hard, and I would not... you know, we don't, or to be honest, we don't do much to handle edge cases usually. it's not great, but essentially we value this more than actually showing. We just show the customer notification that, hey, this was not possible, and we revert the state.
Revert.
Yes, we just revert the state, all we do. And we show notification. It could have been very huge and overcomplicated UI of us showing it in context of the item, right? But unfortunately, we just rely on our server not to prevent items from being deleted on server as well.
Can you agree that optimistic UI scenario can be danger for some areas?
If you have something that's very concurrent, right, or if you have something where a lot of things can change quickly and there is a high likelihood of some scenario going wrong, it's absolutely not a good idea to make it optimistic. I totally agree, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Good question, by the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.